All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the June 1st, 2023 meeting of Community Board 11's Environment, Open Space, and Parks Committee. My name is Jessica Elliott, and I'm the chair of the committee. This meeting is called to order at 6:36 p.m. Tonight, we are joined by Assistant District Manager Khalid Nixon, the staff liaison to our committee. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear and you should find the raise hand function there. If you still have technical difficulty, you may click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. Members should not engage in back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. The chat function should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us of any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. When a member is given the floor to speak, I will identify you and you can unmute yourself so that you can speak. Please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom and wait to be recognized. We will now take attendance through roll call. Board members, when your name is called, you may answer present.
We currently have 10 committee members, 6 are needed for quorum. Jessica Elliott.
Present.
David Giordano.
Present.
Jewel Jones.
Present.
Connie Lee.
Present.
Malik McCullough. Malik.
Yep. Present.
Thank you. Debbie Quinones. Asher Rodriguez, you said it will be a little bit late. Russell Schuler also likely not to be here. Michelle Wilch Sauer Clement.
Present.
Thank you. Jordan Wright. Okay. You have 6 present, Chair. You have quorum.
Thank you. All right. Moving along, the agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and was posted online. If there's no objection, we'll adopt the agenda as stated. Committee members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from our last meeting were distributed to committee members ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we'll adopt the minutes from that meeting. Committee members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Oh, Jewel.
Just to point of clarification, I sent you an email where I said that there was some updates to the minutes. So I'm wondering how would that be addressed? Would there be an amended minutes or updated minutes?
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
So I sent you an email where I had some updates to the minutes of the meeting. And I'd like to know how would that be addressed, whether it's amended minutes or whether they're updated minutes. There were some questions that were posed to me at the last meeting. I answered those questions. I sent you an email with this information. So I'm saying that the minutes need to be updated or amended. How would you address that?
Good question. I guess I may have missed that email or been a little bit behind this month. So apologies for that, Joel. I would be happy to amend the meeting minutes. And then Khalid, what would be the process to move forward here?
Including Jewel Jones' recommendations into the minutes, then we can move forward and accept those corrections into the minutes, and then we'll update them for the public.
Okay,
Point of clarification. If Jewel was presented something, but it wasn't at the meeting, it should be brought up in this meeting and included in this meeting's minutes, because there was no resolution to what she was asked to do, right? So it wasn't presented at that meeting, the responses. We can go over those responses today in new business or old business.
Yeah. Would that be okay, Jewel, if we could just
Yes.
You know, in
Perfect.
follow up to last month's meeting, Drew followed up and presented this information and we discussed it today. Because we didn't discuss it at last meeting because we
Yeah.
didn't have the information that Drew gave us, right?
Yeah, basically, I was just responding to questions, but I will go with what you're saying, David. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll either address that in announcements or old business today. So whatever you would prefer. And we'll just move forward with the minutes as they were, if there are no further objections.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. I apologize for that. All right, seeing no objections. The minutes from the last meeting are adopted. They will soon be available on the CB11 website. So we'll move straight in. Our first thing is announcements. Do you want to go ahead now, Joel? Or I was thinking, you know, if we're going to have We Act here consistently, that we can just provide space for them in our informational updates generally, if that sounds good to you.
That sounds good.
Okay, perfect. Does anyone have an announcement? Please raise your hand. Seeing no announcements, we'll move on to our informational updates. All right, do we have any city agencies here who would like to give an informational update? Please raise your hand through Zoom. Okay, then we will move along. Randall's Island Park Alliance final presenter join.
Yes, Mike Barnacle is here.
Okay, and I saw, sorry, before we move on, I did see a hand up in the attendees. Robert McLean.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. We have the Junior League at Marcus Garvey, 8 o'clock on Sunday. That's coming up, June 4th.
Are you here representing
And
Parks?
I am. I'm the regional manager for Parks.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just clarifying.
And the meeting will be at the northwest lawn, the avenue of the A lawn, and we'll have the commissioner there as well. So the park has been beautified, and so the ceremonies will start around 8 o'clock or a little bit later.
And what date was that? Could you repeat that one more time?
Oh, it's Sunday, June 4th, 8 a.m. Marcus Garvey, northwest lawn.
Great, thank you. All right, are there any questions for Parks? Connie?
Hi, Robert, I just received an email from Jana with a different date and time. She has Saturday, June 3rd.
No, can you hear me, Connie?
Yes.
No, it's that's June 3rd is Rutgers on Saturday. Yeah, there's a also an event Saturday at June 3rd at Rutgers. They did the basketball. They did the service coat on the basketball, and then that is June 3rd. But June 4th will be the Sunday is the meeting at.
Okay, the time is different. She has. I just opened the email. Invite Sunday at 11 a.m. with the New York Junior League at Marcus Garvey.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I thought you said 8 a.m. So I just wanted to clarify.
Well, 8 a.m. is what I have on my schedule, but it's going to be a little bit later. Yeah, 11 a.m. is probably fine. We have some setup that we're going to be doing.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so just
Thanks,
to
Connie.
confirm, it is Sunday, June 4th at
It
11
is,
a.m.
yes.
Okay,
11 a.m.
Oh, that's correct.
perfect. Thank you so much. Any other questions for Parks? I see a hand from the public, Eugene Rodriguez. Can you state your question?
Eugene should be able to speak now. Eugene, can you hear us? You're muted. Hello, Eugene.
Okay. If you could just type your difficulties into the chat or and we can come back to you. Seeing no further questions, we'll move along. Are there any other city agencies who are here and would like to give an update to the community board? All right, we will move on to our parks advocacy groups. We'll start off with Randall's Island Park Alliance, and if any others could be prepared to raise their hand following this presentation so that you can give your update following this group. Thank
Hey,
you.
hi, Jessica. I'm
David.
gonna flip it over to Ann in 1 second. I just wanted to update Michelle. I don't know if she's on, but she had a question about movies on Randall's Island last month. So I just want to confirm they're all in the park this year. We did do 1 or 2 in the stadium. And this year the movie nights are July 16th, Luca by Field 80 and 81, July 23rd in the Heights, which will be on Sunken Meadow up by the Randall's Island Connector, the Bronx Connector, and August 13th, Puss in Boots Last Wish by 80 and 81. So they're all in the park this year. I know she had a question about whether in the stadium. So I wanted to just do that real quick. And then, oh, there's Michelle.
Go ahead, Michelle.
I wanted to find out, you said which ones were going to be in, you didn't know there were going to be 2 in the stadium?
There's none in the stadium. We
Oh,
did
there's
one, we
none in the
did,
stadium.
no,
Okay.
we did two times we did the stadium. Once we did the Jackie Robinson documentary a few years ago, and then like 6, 7 years ago. And then 2 years ago, we did Dune in the stadium. Those are the only times we do the stadium. It's usually always in the park. This year is all in the park. July 16th, July 23rd, August 13th, all outside in the park.
Beautiful. Thank you.
No problem. All right, so with that, I'm going to flip it over to Ann, who's going to give the presentation on the relocation of the discus thrower statue. If you've come over the Manhattan ramp to Randall's Island, you've seen our discus thrower, who's the Randall's Island Park Alliance kind of symbol. Because of the Triborough Bridge construction, we're going to be relocating it. So Ann, if you want to take it away, and I think Mike Barnacle has the presentation.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Dave, and thank you all. We're just here to show you, as Dave said, the discus thrower has been at the base of the Manhattan ramps since 1999 and had always, I guess the PDC had always viewed that as a temporary place for the discus thrower until it could be moved back to the stadium area. And actually some of TBTA's ramp reconstruction is now going to impact the site of the discus thrower. So we've now put together some plans to relocate him home to Icon Plaza, and just wanted to present that to the community board as a point of information. And we have MPFP, which did the landscape architecture for our management, restoration, and development plan, is here. Mike Barnacle is on representing MPFP, and we'll take you through the presentation really quickly in case you have any questions for him. Mike, take it away, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Can you hear me? Thank you for having us here tonight, and we're excited to share this package with you guys.
And before you start, just wanted to ask that we keep this to about 5 minutes.
That's fine.
Thank
I'll
you.
keep it quick. Everybody see the screen as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's a way for you to make it full screen or not. Perfect. Thank you.
So as Ann mentioned, we're very excited to find the discus thrower its permanent home in front of the stadium. So as Ann mentioned, it's currently located here as you come off of the bridge. This is our symbol for the Sports Parks Alliance. We're looking to move it into this plaza right at the entrance of Icon Stadium, as well as kind of give it more of a presence and revitalize the plaza as well. Going in with the planter around it, as well as a bench and some uplighting and new paving Also putting in some new trees and some new benches around the existing trees. There's a current condition. We have some picnic tables out there. That's why we're looking to make a more permanent statement with the bench. And moving that stadium or statue right there in the center as you come into that plaza. So, right, so the existing pavers, bench, couple planters, and then moving the statue, precast bench with precast pavers. There's just a little daytime and night rendering with some uplighting. Full detail of the precast bench. Does have skate stops, prevent skaters. These are some of the benches that we're looking for under the existing trees and a couple of the new trees we're going to plant. Some of the material we're looking at, as well as some of the plant material. I think that's primarily what we have to share. You know, if there's any questions.
Thank you so much, Mike. Are there any questions from the board? Please raise your hand. Michelle?
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I like that statue of the disc, and I've seen it for so many years. And walking into Icon Stadium, that would be a nice improvement. I wanted to find out, you said some of the precast benches look like they're made of cement, but there was like a quick flash of one that looked like it was going to be made of like of some sort of wood. Could you show that one again?
Sure.
Or maybe I was
No, you got it correct. So we have these wood benches that are going to go under some of the existing trees that are the planted area just right of the discus thrower. I'll just go back to the plan and highlight them. A couple of these trees exist, and we're going to plant a couple new ones. And then these are the wood benches that are below that. And then the precast concrete bench is surrounding the discus thrower itself.
Great question, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you. And there's no water element going to be involved, correct?
Correct. No water element.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions from the board? All right. This looks like a great improvement to me. I think that Plaza will greatly benefit from this adjustment. So thank you for the presentation and for taking the time to be here.
Terrific. We're all excited about it on our end.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any
Thank you,
other
everyone.
updates? Thank you, Anne. Nice to see you. Are there any other updates from Randall's Island Park Alliance today?
No, that was the main one. I mean, we're just the general busy summer season. But you know, I didn't want to take up too much time because I know you have a very busy agenda. So no major updates. You know, I wanted to give Michelle the movie schedule. I wanted to make sure to do that.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, David,
right.
and your whole team. And thank you for being here. And while I see David, your hand up, we're going to go back in time to our city agencies. Are you presenting for parks?
Yeah, just a brief add-on to what was mentioned earlier by McLean. So we have the Paul Richards renovation. It will be completed on June 9th, next Friday, pending, of course, final inspections. And we also have to paint the Park House comfort station, just paint the inside, get the water turned on. That should be final cleanup next Friday, June 9th. Also, staffing issues. Well, I actually have three new supervisors in the last 4 months. So I'm still getting them accustomed to some of the things. So anything observed or missed, just let me know. Send me email and I'll work on it. Right now we're currently checking the light outages. So if you know any lights that haven't been working in their local parks or playgrounds, please let me know. And also I have information as well in regards to up and coming movie nights in our parks. On, let me see, tomorrow, actually, June 2nd at Wagner Playground, we will be airing Wakanda Forever. Then we go to June 9th as well, for next Friday at Cherry Tree Playground. We will be airing Turning Red. I believe that's a cartoons, animation. And on June 16th at White Playground, Puss in Boots / Swish will be also airing. Oh, one more, June 21st, Spider-Man No Way Home. So please come out, bring your family, bring a blanket, and enjoy the entertainment.
Thank you, David. And which park would the June 21st movie night be at?
Oh, that is Eugene McCabe.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, okay.
All right, any final questions for parks? Connie?
Thanks, Jessica. Dave, I had asked the supervisor to pick up or to send the sanitation truck over to the fitness area because we've piled up a bunch of things that can be thrown away. And I was told they were going to come right away, but no one ever came and picked it up. And so now it's about twice as large. So there's this big pile of stuff that needs to go be picked up by the sanitation truck.
Okay, just to be clear, everything there's trash, correct?
Yes, well, so there's a big pile right near the entrance gate, and it's
Okay.
been added to, and including some of the discarded stuff from the crew that was fixing the basketball courts.
Yes.
So now it's some of the fitness stuff is underneath it. But all of that can go, and we'll be having some of the other fitness equipment removed hopefully in the next week or so.
All right, I'll take a look at it tomorrow and I'll get a unit over there.
Okay, if you need me to walk over and talk to someone, just let me know.
I have your number. I'll reach out to you. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Connie, for following up on that and getting that handled. And thank you, Dave, for being here. With that, we'll move on. Are there any other parks advocacy groups here who would like to give an informational update? Connie, your hand's still raised. Did you have some?
Now I'm raising it on behalf of Harlem Art Park this time.
Okay, please go ahead.
I don't think Debbie's here, but there's going to be an event on June 11th hosted by the Studio Museum. I don't know too much about it, but it is basically starts at 1 o'clock to 4 p.m. with all kinds of programming. And it is it goes back to the Smokehouse Associates who did the first mural project in Harlem Art Park back in 1968 to 1970. So these artists, I believe some of them who founded it are going to be present. I think historically and culturally, this is a culturally significant event. So it'd be nice if some of us came out and checked it out.
Great. Thank you, Connie. And could you just repeat the date and the name of the event?
Yeah, so it's hosted by the Studio Museum in Harlem. It's June 11th from 1 to 4 p.m. And it's at Harlem Art Park. And the event is, I guess it's titled Smokehouse Associates. There's a whole series of programming around Smokehouse Associates that's been happening for several months. And it's culminating in Harlem Art Park on that day.
Great. Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Connie? All right. Thank you, Connie, for that update.
You're welcome.
And hopefully, if committee members can be in attendance, that would be great. I'm sure the support would be greatly appreciated. Are there any other parks advocacy groups who would like to give an informational update? All right, moving along. Are there any other community-based organizations who would like to give an update? Please raise your hand through Zoom. All right, we'll move along. Thank you, everyone. To our first presentation, which is an update on the Pier 107 Bobby Wagner Walk concept design from New York City Department of Parks and Recreation and EDC.
Good evening, everyone. Just give me 1 second to share my screen. Hello from Parks.
Hello, nice to see you all again. Thank you for being here.
All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
I can, looks good. Great. Good evening. My name is Meredith.
I think we lost Meredith.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I think we lost her. But I can go ahead and introduce us while she comes back online. So thank you for having us. That was Meredith Simon Pearson speaking from EDC. I'm Mary Evely from Parks. Together we are your representatives for the Pier 107 Bobby Wagner Walk project. And while she works on getting the slides back up, I'll just let you know that tonight we're here with a really quick update. We wanted to summarize the community outreach we've done so far up until this point, and we wanted to invite everybody to a workshop, series of in-person and virtual workshops that we're having the week of July 10th. And essentially the goal here is to show what we've been working on. We've been doing some conceptual design work that's rooted in the feedback we received in our earlier workshop. So let me see. She might be. I can also try to share my screen, but just give me a moment to pull my version up. 1 sec.
No worries. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think Meredith will be right on, but yeah, there she goes. Maybe not use your camera, Meredith.
Oh, there we go. Awesome. Thank you. Meredith, how much of that did you miss? I did an intro for you.
I was talking and then everyone was like, we can't, she's gone. So
yeah, you
came back. I'm going to keep my video off just for the sake of my internet. So thanks for jumping in, Mary.
Absolutely. You can go ahead and go to the next slide and I'll go ahead and walk through our agenda. So just for those of you who are new to the project or would like a refresher, we'll talk about project goals. I'll summarize the prior community engagement that we've done, and then Meredith will talk about our upcoming workshop. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So as a reminder, our project stretches from 94th Street to 107th Street, including the 107th Street Pier, as well as from 117th up to 124th. This is a project to repair and rehabilitate the East River Esplanade that is along the stretch. That also includes elevating for sea level rise. And in terms of the pier, we will be completely demolishing it and reconstructing it in its current location of 107th Street. We began design last August, which feels like forever ago, and we're coming up on our year marker nearly. Our first public meeting was January. And if you go to the next slide, you can see the series of further community events. So we had an online survey, over 300 people replied, which was really wonderful. We had initial information meeting with 55 attendees, and then a series of 2 workshops, 1 virtual, 1 in person. These were interactive. We received a lot of wonderful feedback about people's preference for both the Esplanade and the pier in terms of the feeling of these spaces and also what design elements were of interest. We also hosted a walkthrough where people got to see what was going on up close. There was a dog in attendance, and we had a series of pop-up meetings as well where we met 66 neighbors, and that was in February. So with all this information, we are now working on concept design, and we will be submitting to PDC in later July. And the workshop that we would love to invite you to is in mid-July. So go ahead, Meredith.
So as Mary said, we've been working through concept design, and we have a workshop where we'll be sharing our concept design and soliciting feedback the week of July 10th. So there'll be 2 workshops that week. One will be in person and a second one will be virtual. So it'll be the same workshop, but just 2 different ways to access it on different dates. If you're interested in attending that workshop, you can register at the links on EDC's project website. There's a QR code for it here in the corner. And then on our last slide, we have the whole address. And so our concept design proposal includes Esplanade programming and amenities, as well as pier design and programming. And you can see in this picture here, our whole design team and EDC team and parks team all went out on a site visit to the pier, which is currently closed to the public, but we just wanted to get a feel for what it's like being out there on the water and what the sound is like out there from the highway and the views. And we're really excited to progress the design and get the project moving. So there's just a quick update from us. Again, here's the EDC project website where you can get updates on the project and register for our workshops coming up in July.
Thanks.
Great.
We hope to see you guys in July.
Thank you so much, Meredith and Mary. Do you mind posting that link into the chat just so I can
Sure.
copy it into the meeting minutes and we can get as many people registered as possible. Looking forward to that. All right. Are there any questions for Parks and EDC on their update today? All right. Seeing no hands, we will move on. Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will move along to our next presentation, which is Parks improvements plan for Poor Richard's Playground.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here. I'm Christine Thelmo-DeBrow, and I'm the Chief Marketing and Development Officer here at Parks. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. I am joined by my colleagues from Parks, Max Goodstein, I saw, David Cerrone, and also by our longtime partners, Ben Schlansky, I'm saying that right, hopefully, and Daniel White from Ghetto DeMilli. So we are super excited to talk to you today about a great project at Poor Richard's Playground. As many of you know, Poor Richard's Playground is a site that we have long sought to improve, and it was identified as, and thank you, and it was identified as a key site for capital investment. Thanks to the work of many people in this room and in the neighborhood, City Council allocated funding to upgrade the play equipment and the play area, which was fabulous. However, there wasn't enough funding to do the MPPA, the multipurpose play area, Parks acronyms, the basketball courts and the handball courts. But however, thanks to the generosity of Sport Time, a complete refurbishment of the rest of those remaining sites are actually going to be possible through the Adopt a Park program. So if we can go to the next slide, we'll go through the agenda really quickly. So I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about what the Adopt a Park program is and give you some examples. Sport Time is gonna tell you a little bit more about who they are and also talk about the additional component of community programming component, which is also a terrific benefit. And then the timeline for improvements and next steps. Next slide. So the Adopt a Park program is a program that enables parks to work with private individuals, organizations, corporations to make improvements to parks. We have upgraded and renovated and actually created new projects entirely, new amenities, and dozens and dozens and dozens since the program's inception. We've actually done a few in CB11 that have been very successful. Next slide. I think we have them. Okay, great. So this is the track at Thomas Jefferson Park, which Adidas renovated for us a couple of years ago. Next slide. 2018, there it is. We recently created a reading room and library at the Thomas Jefferson Rec Center with the Children's Place and Kevin Hart and lots of happy kids. And then I realized that we forgot to include that also Nike upgraded the dance floor in the multipurpose room in Tom Jeff. So those are a few of the examples specifically in CB11. Next slide. Did I do anything else? Okay, wait, sorry, skipped ahead. So now I'm going to turn this over to our longtime partner, and they can tell you a little bit about themselves.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel White. This is Ben Schlansky. Ben's the managing director of Sport Time, and I've worked with Sport Time for a long time. We're really happy to be back to Board 11 Parks and Open Space Committee. We have a history with this committee that goes back almost a decade now. So we're really glad to be back before you. So I see a lot of new members, so folks we haven't presented to in the past. So I'll just do a little bit about Sport Time, and then we come on to speak a bit more about who we are ever so briefly in a few more slides. But Sport Time, we were founded in 1994. We operate the tennis center on Randall's Island, which opened in 2009, which is utilized every day by permit holders, Sport Time members, students with the John McEnroe Tennis Academy, and every day as well during the school day in particular. We work with a lot, 1,000 kids every week from schools in East Harlem and the South Bronx who come to us for free tennis education. But our mission really is to provide access and exposure to tennis and to provide the youth who are with us with the world-class education. Many years ago, we started a conversation about an expansion of the tennis center in Randall's Island. In connection with that, we had spoken about improvements that can be made to locations offsite as well. And the discussion that we had with council member, the Parks Department, the community board led us to look at Poor Richard Playground, which is on 109th between 2nd and 3rd. It's a public park, accessible. There's 3 schools that are kind of adjacent to it and utilize it during the day. Those are the 3 schools that I've listed here. But then, after school hours and on weekends, it's open to the public. And as a Parks colleague mentioned before, the playgrounds that you can kind of see the green architecture and infrastructure there, that component is been underway to renovate that, which is going to be done, I guess, next week, which is fantastic. And then through Sport Time and Parks, we've designed a scope to basically do everything else. So the playground will get an entire upgrade, and we'll come on to what that means in a minute.
Okay, so I'll take over and give you a little bit of information about what we plan to do. We're going to be using TBO Sitescapes, who's the contractor who actually just completed the playground. So Christine Barron, who runs it, is very familiar with the playground and working with Parks and getting this stuff done. We've told her how important it is to us to have this done by September. And she believes that if she starts by July, which shouldn't be an issue, she should be able to get the park complete by September. As you can see, and I'll show you a site plan next, so you can see sort of the exact spaces I'm talking about. But we're going to basically remove the asphalt throughout the park, not just the surface, but it's called something that I'm going to forget, that Christine will remind me what it is. But it goes
full depth asphalt.
Thank you. Full depth replacement of the asphalt. We're installing color and seal coating in various areas, replacing all the benches with the new benches, 17 benches, as you can see, replacing existing water fountains. 2 of the basketball backstops are in very good shape, and they're the newer version, but 2 are not. So we're going to remove and replace the 2 that are not. Oops, sorry. Basketball courts, similar, benches, basketball backstops, new color, new asphalt. I'll talk a little bit about the red ball courts. Basically, we are going to stripe for them, so there aren't going to be any permanent nets. But tennis has evolved very substantially in the last years for young children. And what's evolved is small courts and what's called low compression balls that are less bouncy, that are used based upon a child's age and their where they are in physical development. Obviously, if you're a 5-year-old and you play with an adult racket and an adult ball and you go on an adult tennis court, you're going to not be very happy because you're going to hit the ball. If you hit it, it's going to go over the fence. And that's not exciting. And then kids say, well, why would I want to play this? This is not fun. So both for their development and both to make it fun, so kids stick with it. And this has been in Europe for much longer than it's been in the United States. They designed a number of levels. Red ball is the smallest court. It's 36 by 60. And it's designed for the youngest kids. They play with a small racket on a small court with a lower net and a ball that doesn't bounce that high. So they can actually swing like real players, play like real players, without feeling like they're going to bash the ball over the fence. It simulates what it should really be like based upon their stage of development. The next court up from there is an orange ball court, which is 48 by 60. The green ball court, again, is almost a full-size court, and then the yellow ball is the ball that we're all used to. So this was important to us, since we're trying to outreach the community so substantially and introduce tennis to the communities surrounding Randall's Island, both at our tennis center here and in those communities, to try to stripe for these so we could come and do community programming for those schools and others on those courts. And we won't be putting any permanent nets down, but they'll be striped for red ball play, and then it's very easy to drop temporary nets for programming or otherwise, including the schools if they wanted to use us, whether we're providing the programming or not. And fencing throughout is going to be upgraded and repainted. We expect the total cost to be about $1.4 million. And we've committed $1.5 million to the project. To the extent we don't spend the $1.5 million, the remainder will be given back to Parks for use in their projects. But maybe there are other things that we find along the way that we want to do, and we'll try to commit that entire $1.5 million to this excellent park.
We have an idea for what to do with that as well. Go to the
I think Christine wants to.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to jump in to say, and just in terms of the refurb work, I mean, as I think folks know, when the city does a project, it takes much, much longer, and Sport Time is going to do this project through Adopt a Park in like 2 months, and for a third of the cost, not throwing any shade on the city and whatever, which is, we have regulations and stuff. So I just want to say they're faster, they're cheaper, and it's going to be fantastic because they're actually working with a contractor that's done many of our projects and knows all of our specs. So again, just wanted to put that into context of, as you know, the capital world of New York City. And I think Dan, you had some ideas of other ideas of what could be used with the remaining budget, and I'll stop talking.
Yeah, we'll come on to that in a second.
Yeah, so just so you can see now, this site map, what's on the top left is the playground that's currently that's basically almost done with construction. On the right side of the area that's within the dotted lines, those are the striping for the red ball courts. The handball wall stays. So, and they will be striped for handball as well. So people will be able to play handball on those courts when they wish, or hit tennis balls against it, or all the things people do with it. But they'll be striped for red ball play when we bring our temporary nets, or the schools does, and the school does, and use it for tennis. Do you want me to talk about this?
No, we'll come on to that.
Okay.
So we've met with the schools. The Parks and Sport Time team met with the schools, and they're really enthusiastic about this plan. They love the idea of having the red ball courts included, because it then gives us the ability to come to them and do off-site programming at the schools for the kids. And so I thought it would make sense to tell you a little bit about the programming we do ever so briefly. So our programming runs 34 weeks a year during the academic year. It pretty much starts in October and then runs through May. And we serve about 250 kids every day, Monday to Friday here. Every May, so basically we just had these ceremonies take place. All the students who are with us for the duration and their teachers come to Randall's, and we do like a moving up ceremony to commemorate their 34-week tennis education with us. Many of our partner schools have been with us for a long time. And I'm not going to go into the scholarship programs that we offer because we are here about the parks, but we provide a continuity of service and a continuity of education that allows the kids to actually get a familiarity and a real exposure to the sport. We are expanding our court capacity right now. So right now we have 1,000 students that are playing with us each week. And when we finish the expanded courts this fall, we'll be able to almost, essentially double the number of schools we can work with. So we're really excited about that. Next slide. Back in November of last year, we had the opportunity to present to Mr. Giordano's committee. And so I just wanted to take the opportunity to show who our partner schools are, just so that members of this committee have a flavor of it. These are the 10 schools we work with currently in East Harlem: CPE2, Isaac Newton, Our Lady Queen, River East, PS 112, 375, MS 224, MS 007, PS 108, 155. Many of these schools have been partners of ours for a long time. And in the context of our expanded court capacity that's coming online this fall, we're already in dialogue with D4 and a number of other schools, including the 3 that are proximate to Port Richard, about bringing them on board both on-site and off-site. Next slide. And just, every year the community board graciously promotes our annual tennis combine and tryout that we hold at Randall's. So it's coming up on June 17th. I'm going to submit a request to Angel and Khalid to include it in the upcoming newsletter if the board would be so inclined to do so again. Next slide. So this is our last slide. Well, this is our last programmatic slide. So we have a concept that we've shared, which is the plan for the site. We've met with the schools. They're thrilled about the design, looking forward to the work being done. I mentioned the partnerships with those 3 schools. We are looking to begin work in July and be completed by the September commencement of the new school year. The one thing that we're also exploring that we haven't spoken about yet, which is the balance of that 1.5, is we're looking at a creative court mural in the main kind of center area of the multi-purpose play space. It's a discussion that is subject to budget and also the school's input, but they love the idea conceptually, and so we're working with Parks now to kind of figure out what the design might look like for that. We have some examples of what these creative court murals look like, but here's one that was done at Marcus Garvey. Here's one that was done at St. Nick Park, and here's one that was done at Rucker Park. So they're pretty interesting. They're dynamic and distinctive designs and features, and so we're talking to parks and the schools about what one might look like here. And if we can do it by September, we will. And if it's next summer, then we can entertain that as well. But we like the idea conceptually, as do the schools.
Yep. So thanks so much. I'm gonna just jump in quickly. We have actually a whole process for the murals, temporary art on whether it's a wall or whether it's a basketball court or a tennis court. And so, we will work with Sport Time and with the schools if the interest is in exploring, what could that look like? And typically it involves, a proposal and review by our Arts and Antiquities division, which vets every single project and takes a look at the artist's background and their body of work and all of that. So did want to just give you that little extra piece of information. And I think that is the end. Thank you. Questions?
Great. Thank you all so much for your presentation, and thank you to Parks for having Adopt a Park and for Sport Time for participating in the program. It's excellent to get additional funding for our parks, which are desperately needed. I have a couple questions, but I'll go to David Giordano, who has his hand up, and then we'll go to Michelle.
Just again, saying hi to everybody. Ben and them we worked with in the committee and had some challenges in the very beginning, but worked through those challenges over time. And really, so the background behind me, which is no longer a playground, is actually at this point coming down, but that is one of the places we set up with Daniel and Ben to play tennis, and had children playing tennis out there on that playground. So the mobile thing works. It was a lot of success. And I also kind of want to add, it's really nice to see you now giving back and putting, you know, again, re-enriching and giving back to the community in a different way by making that park, particularly that park, which was really not in good condition for many, many years. So we thank you, Ben. We thank you, Daniel, Sport Time. You know, I always advocate that we should take more advantage ourselves and advocate for those spots which they've created, and we should continue to see young people in our community get the opportunity to go to Ramblers, to go be part of Sport Time, and to learn tennis. We never know who the next, you know, young star, rising star will be. So hopefully they'll come out of East Harlem in the program. But
That's what
again,
we
we
hope.
wish to continue, you know.
I think they will.
Thank you so much, David. Michelle?
I am not going to repeat what David said. He said it quite eloquently. So I just want to say thank you. And that's it.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you both weighing in, and it's important to get that background context. So thank you so much, David, for that perspective, and to Sport Time for all the work that you've been doing. I do have a question. You noted in your presentation that there would be free programming for the schools at this location, on-site and off-site at Sports Time. I just wanted to note, and just for full transparency, we did have a different organization come in and do the soccer pitches at PS 106, which was, you know, completed, and then the programming was never provided. And that is a really tough thing to hear from schools when you know, they're promised things and then those promises end up falling through, and then they have, you know, something that is essentially unusable to them without it. So I just wanted to, you know, bring that to the forefront and, you know, ask that, you know, I know that you're not going to do that. It sounds like you have a, you know, great history with the neighborhood, and just want to make sure that we understand what those commitments were made to the school, and how you intend to provide that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. So it's our curriculum is defined over the 34 weeks of the academic year. So the kids are taught by the instructors, and they're the tennis pros that are really qualified and skilled in this. So 34 weeks they work with the same kids with the pros. And with our offsite programming, what we worked out with the school is we're going to bring the nets, the balls, the rackets that will be used by the kids. We'll work out with the schools how many classes and the numbers and so on, but we'll bring that. They've identified the storage space for the equipment to be housed there, so we can then come through, set up, and then store throughout the academic year over those 34 weeks. They've also expressed interest because when they knew all the schools that we work with. I mean, it's a community. So they've also said that for some of their kids, they want to bring them over to Randall's and have them come, you know, here and learn during the academic year. So we're going to onboard, you know, those kids in September and October when our programs begin. So these are 3 new partnerships, but it's a model that we've now been doing for a long time, and we know how to do it, and we do it, I think, pretty well. So
I can also give you my word that we're not going to disappoint. There are a lot of tennis organizations who play the numbers game. They say they've touched 10,000 kids. They've done it, but as I told you before, tennis is not an easy sport. If you play it once, you may never want to play it again. We make sure kids play at least 17 weeks and some for 34, depending on how the programs are broken up, so they can decide whether they love it or maybe they don't. But they'll have enough of a chance to know. And so it's a consistent, it's not like a drop-in program every once in a while. It is consistent scheduled program. And again, as David mentioned, it's something with these, obviously the larger the court, the more challenging. With these little red nets, there's temporary items you can bring anywhere. If it's a NYCHA housing and they have a massive or a large community room, we can bring it there. If it's a school and they have a large gym, we can bring it there. Indoors, outdoors, anywhere. The balls are pretty soft. They're not going to break anything. So there's a lot of capacity for us to provide this sort of programming. We want to make sure that kids get to come and take advantage of this place where Daniel and I are sitting right now, but we also want to expose kids in the communities to tennis and have them see it while they're walking around. So,
and we're not going to be
Jessica, that's exactly, and then board, that's exactly what they did with Children's Aid. What happened with us is we outgrew the building and the capacity and left. And that was the only reason why we had stopped the program, because we just didn't have the space. But Jamie, who was our instructor, would drive around the back of his car, the extra stuff that we had that we couldn't store. So, you know, they really did accommodate. And I'll say this, there was a lot of back and forth in hell in this committee, and we put Daniel through hell. Dan wasn't always at those meetings in the room there. And it was that same room around that same table that we really hammered out giving back to the community. And that's why I said it's so nice to see this as another extension of that. And it's not just using the space at Rambo, but fixing it up as well in the community. And so they're buying into it, Jess. So let's get them as much as we can while they're on the hook.
Yes, I completely agree.
We're fully committed. And I just want to say this, I mean, this is kind of cheesy, but I absolutely mean it. There is and we haven't told the story yet, but there is a tennis renaissance happening in East Harlem and South Bronx, because there's a lot of kids who are being exposed to the sport now. And some of those kids are expressing real interest in it and are then coming into the academy. You know, we showed to Mr. Giordano's committee, you know, November, some of the kids that have come through Our Lady Queen and other schools that are real players. And, you know, as that continues over the years to come, something special is happening here with tennis, and we're really excited about it.
Well, and it all again, this is not for this committee, but it often leads to college scholarships. In the short period, we've sent close to 30 or maybe more than 30 kids to college on scholarships, fully paid through these community programs. So that's the goal. Great. Maybe some people will come back and teach tennis for us, teach the kids, any of that sort of stuff. But we want to make tennis available and relevant.
And the absolute last thing I'll say is we're going to be opening the expansion in the fall, and we're going to be sending an invitation to all the community board members to come to that once we settle on a date. So hopefully you all can come out, and there'll be programming happening here at that time. So it'll be interesting for folks who don't know us as well.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, well, keep us updated. And I learned tennis as a kid myself, and I still love the game. So I can speak to that, and I'm very excited about this. I'm going to go over to Malik, and then I just have one more follow-up question after Malik.
Hello, great presentation, guys. My question is you mentioned earlier about the $100,000 that you may or may not use. So I don't know if I missed it or not, but I know y'all had your own ideas that which I may do with it. I wanted to hear it. I didn't hear it. So maybe you can say it again if I missed it.
Yeah, that's a great question, Malik. Thank you. So we and the schools would like to budget that 100,000 to do a creative mural on site. You know, there's a design process, and there's materials, and there's labor, and painting. So that's where we think the money will go. But as Christina was saying, we have to then do the design and get Parks to approve it and so on. So that's where we think that will round out to the full 1.5.
Great. Thank you, Malik, for that question. It helped clarify it for me as well. And just one more quick question. You had mentioned that there would be some new trees. I don't know if you would mind going back to your site plan really quickly. I was just hoping to understand where the plantings and trees would be occurring. As I'm sure you know, we have not enough trees and green space in our community, and that would be another consideration to think about.
Hold on now. I have to try to share again. I don't Are we planting any trees?
I don't think we're planting.
I don't think
those
we're
are-
planting any trees. I think those may be for the playground.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jessica, I can, let me put it back on. and
No,
I'll-
it's okay. That's
Sure.
helpful. I must have miswrote in my note taking that you are also going to be providing trees. So I will delete that.
We're gonna email the deck to you, so you'll see the full scope.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Any final questions for this project? And I guess a quick question while we're waiting for final questions is, I believe Steve said that you do not need any action from our committee at this time. Just wanted to make sure that was the case.
Yes, but we
Yep.
can certainly come back in September when it's done and show you what it looks like if that's of interest.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
Well,
we can't wait.
we're gonna have a party.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah. We'll have a ribbon cutting. Yeah, that's true. That's right.
Well, we'll be talking a little bit later about our parks tours. So we will be similarly to 2 years ago, we went to every park in the neighborhood and over the course of 2 days, which was a lot. So now we're doing it over the course of many weekends. So we'll be visiting Poor Richard's Playground and taking a look for ourselves, but invite you to join along. We sent the schedule over to the Parks Department if they would like to join us on any of the dates.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if we could move on to our final presentation, the art installation at Marcus Garvey Park from Department of Parks and Recreation as well.
Oh, hello. I'm just actually, I'll give a brief introduction, but this is really a project that's really been spearheaded by Harlem Grown. But an intro to me, it's been a while, I think, since I've been to this community board. My name is Elizabeth Masella. I'm the Senior Public Art Coordinator here at NYC Parks, currently the agency's only public art coordinator. So I oversee the Art in the Parks program. We permit temporary public art exhibitions in parks citywide. Public art exhibitions take a number of forms: murals, fence installations, sculpture, interactive artworks. We're doing some augmented reality artworks as well. So if you're in a park and you see art, that's through us. And my primary role in working with artists and organizations who want to do temporary public art is we conduct reviews of the artwork to make sure that it will be safe, durable, suitable to the site, flag any safety concerns or maintenance concerns. Then we also share with our operations staff, both dedicated to the park as well as with the borough, as well as our borough commissioner. In some instances, we also connect with other city agencies. That is not the case here. But then we also issue an agreement that is also a permit that requires all exhibitors to, they're essentially responsible for all aspects of the installation, fabrication, transport, installation maintenance, site restoration, removal, you name it. They also have to provide general liability insurance, as well as a security deposit to ensure that the artwork is removed and the site is returned to its original condition or as close to that as possible. So I think maybe at this point, I'll turn it over to Charles to speak about this. This is one part of, I think, a much larger initiative. There will be a temporary art installation that I think is quite impressive that will be in Marcus Garvey Park, installed over the next couple of weeks on view through early fall. Will be the site of a lot of exciting programming that will be happening. I guess, Charles, take it away.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I'm going to share my screen. I've shared some about this project with the larger CB11 board in a previous meeting with my colleague, Melissa McLeod. This presentation is going to be slightly different. I'm going to give less detail about the initiative itself and more specifically about this installation that's recently gotten Parks approval that, like Elizabeth said, and thank you so much, Elizabeth, will be going up in the next couple of weeks. So I am Charles Marr. I think I already said I'm Chief Operating Officer at Harlem Grown. I'm working very closely with Darrell Anderson, who is our new Director of Partnerships, though she wasn't able to join us on this call today. And let me introduce you to this initiative. It is funded, it's a 2-year initiative funded by the Mellon Foundation's Humanities in Place initiative. So they want to really provide people with a fuller retelling of American histories from different perspectives, and specifically from people in specific places. And so the place that is being featured in this project is Marcus Garvey Park specifically. And the theme of the project is an exploration of wellness through food-related programming, cultural programming, and arts programming. So that's visual and performing arts. And honestly, most often overlaps between all of those things. And it will focus on amplifying stories and histories and cultures from Harlem's Black, Latinx, immigrant, and Indigenous communities. Like I said before, it's 2 years of funding, and we plan to build 2 large art installations that will also be gathering and performance and programming spaces. And so the first of those 2 is what I'll be presenting on today. And as part of the initiative, in collaboration with a lot of other organizations, we'll be bringing out our mobile teaching kitchen and presenting our programming as well. So here's just another representation of those 3 categories. Most of the programs that have been presented to us are actually overlaps of food and cultural programming, or performing arts and culture, and sometimes all 3 of those. But taking us to the meat of our presentation, we have our first art installation. So this art installation was designed by the team at Brant Hayford, which is a local architecture and design studio. The team was headed by Jerome Hayford, who is one of the partners in the firm. Their team did a bunch of research, and then we held 2 long community design workshops that had a large number of community members, including members from park stakeholder organizations like the Marcus Garvey Park Alliance and Mount Morris Park Community Improvement Association, as well as Connie Lee from Art Lives Here, who's on this call and a member of this committee. And we got the feedback that people really wanted an interactive space that could be used both during programming and also as a passive gathering space. People really liked the idea of a round structure. People liked the idea of incorporating African and Indigenous textiles. And lastly, people wanted to make sure that it was sort of a living art display that also could display other works from local artists besides being a piece of art itself. I'm going to go a little bit more into the name in a couple of slides, but first I want to show you where in the park it's going to be. So it's going to be just northwest of the oval lawn by the corner of 124th and Madison, in this little triangle. And I'm going to show you a rendering of what that looks like from an aerial view. So there is not a huge amount happening in that very specific little triangle of the park, which actually was suggested as a location by Connie. It is going to be 16 feet diameter in the center, 30 feet diameter on the outside, with both internal and external benches to give lots of different opportunities for seating and gathering for small and large groups. The superstructure is going to be a large steel frame with wooden accents and wooden benches that are being designed and handcrafted by a local carpenter. And then it is not going to be fully covered, so it won't be able to act as a shelter for anyone to say overnight in the park. However, it will provide some shade. But this will be a printed mesh that has a collage that is inspired by both Indigenous and African textiles, as well as archival images of people utilizing the parks. Most of those images are from Marcus Garvey Park. And then we also plan to, at each of the corners, have planters that will be growing different flowering and edible crops, and will likely be encouraging people for those plants that one can take a cutting of to be able to take some and take it home and be able to propagate that plant themselves. The name that Jerome has chosen for the piece is Sankofa, which I'm sure is a word that a lot of people in this meeting are familiar with. It is a word from the Akan tribe in Ghana, and it loosely translates in English to remember and learn lessons from the past as we move forward. And that's both literally very aligned with this sculpture as well as aligned to the initiative itself. So this is a new structure, a new design, but features our history. It features historical textiles. It features historical images from the parks while being a gathering space and a programming space to both amplify those histories and create new pieces, create new performances, and create new works of art. This is what the inside of the structure will be. This is the part that will change every 4 to 8 weeks throughout the summer. There will be 12 different panels that'll be featuring works by local artists that'll be reproduced in weatherproof aluminum so that they can be safely displayed outdoors. Artists whose work will be displayed will both get an honorarium for their work because we think it's very, very important to be compensating artists and performers, anybody who is activating the space and the park and being a part of our initiative. And to give you a little bit of a sneak preview, though this hasn't been publicly released yet, I will tease you with our images that have been selected for our first exhibition. And the reason I'm showing you this is one, so you can get a teaser, but also we'll be having an activation event on June 16th, where we'll be unveiling the structure, as well as doing some programming with the artists themselves who are being featured in our first exhibition. Here, just as an FYI, is a loose timeline for year one of this initiative. So we recently had an open call, sort of a mini RFP for our first year for both programming and art to be displayed. We've designed the structure and are about to do the building that'll end up going through mid-June, which is also when programming is going to start. And then, like Elizabeth said, in late fall, we will either be dismantling and storing the art installation over the summer or over the winter to be redeployed in the fall, or potentially getting permission to leave it up, but that decision won't be made until the fall. Like I said, we want the art installation should be up in the next 2 weeks from today by June 15th for its activation on June 16th. And just to share the early results from our open calls for art and programming, we received 42 very robust proposals for events just for this season through September, and 38 different submissions to be reproduced and displayed inside of the structure. And those are currently with selection committees being scored right now. And I'll show you momentarily the timeline for sharing our decisions. So starting this Monday, we'll be starting to share decisions on who will be receiving funding to put on programming as part of the initiative this year. That's the same day that the official build for the art installation for this year begins. And And then starting June 15th, we'll be announcing the winners of our art open call. So who is going to be exhibited in future exhibitions later on this summer. We'll be activating our pavilion with its first event on June 16th, but we've encouraged people who are going to be hosting events as part of the initiative, if they're small enough, to try to host them in the structure. And it will also be available. It is in the park. It is a gathering space, both for other formal and informal events. If nobody's using it, we want people in there hanging out, throwing their birthday party, having a baby shower. We really want it to not just for official events, but to really be a gathering space and a tool to activate that part of the park. We'll be having programming for year one through mid to late September. This is a very loose end date. I think we'll probably have some programs later than that. And then we'll make a decision on redeployment of this installation and the timeline for that in mid to late October, which of course we will share with you when those decisions are made. And then I just want to give a quick plug if anybody says, you know, I know this is a 2-year project. How do I get involved either for the rest of this year or for round 2? Hey, it seems like your selection process isn't over yet. Is there any possibility to get involved? The answer to both of those questions is yes. You can get involved. The easiest way is just email us, ccci@harlemgrown.org. You will get a human on the other end that will be able to answer your questions, tell you how you can get involved in your specific situation. There are a couple of spots open on our art selection committee that will go in this installation. So if you want to get your name in the ring, please email us by tomorrow if you can. Or for general information or just to peruse information about the initiative, you can always go to harlemgrown.org/culture-creativity-care. And I'm putting those both in the chat right now. But that was my presentation. I hope I didn't take too much of your time. Thank you so much for listening. I'm happy to take a few questions as long as I'm given the time.
Great. Thank you, Charles. And thank you, Elizabeth, for the presentation. I'll send it over to Jewel Jones, but just wanted to ask if anyone from CB11 is currently a part of your artist selection committee.
I would have to cross-reference. Nobody explicitly said I am a part of CB11, and that is why I want to be a part of this. But we could do some due diligence.
Okay. If not, I think it would be a good idea to have, you know, some representation from the community board if there is space. And we'd be happy to work with you on that.
There is definitely space, but we will start scoring proposals early next week. So I would love for anybody to let us know they're interested sooner rather than later.
Perfect. Excuse my cats in the background. We'll go to Jewel and then we'll go to Michelle.
Thank you for the presentation. So just so I'm clear, you've already selected the artists. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so the first exhibition was part of the initial design of the art installation. So the first round that will be in for the same amount of time and received the same honorarium that the people who will be selected by committee will receive. But we did contract directly with artists to create this first exhibition that will go up.
And then how long, so this is a temporary thing. How long is an artist up? What's the time frame?
Yeah, so the artists will be up for about 6 to 8 weeks. It's looking like it'll probably be closer to 8 because we'll have the installation up a little bit longer than we expected, so we can extend that timeline a little bit. And there will be more opportunities. So whether we leave it up over the winter or remove it and redeploy it, we will be doing another call for the full next year's worth of exhibitions that will probably come after next year's request for proposals for events. So if people are already thinking about events they might want to put on related to the initiative for next year, those proposals are not due until early October. And we'll probably in January put out another call for visual art specifically for this and potentially one more art installation that will also function partially as an outdoor gallery. And for next year, since we'll have a much longer runway, all artists being exhibited will go through that open call process.
Last question, how much is the honorarium?
So the honorarium for a single piece of art being displayed is $500. And this was an open call for completed works, not for new commissions. So we're reproducing work that an artist has already made. And then also giving the opportunities to artists who are interested to host either solo or joint activation events. And depending on the size of those events, they would be eligible for a sort of secondary honorarium on top of that.
Thank you so much, Jewel, for your great questions. And thank you to the group for providing those honorariums. It's really an important aspect, and people should be paid for the work that they're doing. So thank you for making that a priority.
And anybody who participates in the selection committee that's coming up for this visual art will also receive a $200 honorarium.
Great, thank you. We'll go to Michelle, then David, then Connie.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I wanted to find out the age is there an age limit that the artists, because there's lots of beautiful young artists in our neighborhood, in our community, and I would not like them to be left out of something that could really push them forward.
There is absolutely not an age limit on either end.
Beautiful. That's what I wanted to find out, as well as when you meet, are you meeting in person for this art selection, or is it in the daytime, or is it in the evening?
So the art selection, the scoring process happens asynchronously. People, there's a sort of kickoff presentation that people can either view live or view a recording, and instructions for scoring. Once we receive scores, we're having a sort of live discussion to discuss, the range of scores and put together a final slate of artists for each exhibition.
Beautiful. Okay, so I will give you an email. Thank you.
Thank you, please
Michelle.
do.
All right, David.
Okay, so I'm coming at this with many ways. This is fantastic and great, and it reminds me of visiting my brother up in Woodstock, where you would just see art all over people's properties and all over the place. But I really love the concept of it being changing and altering, so it continues to do. So the work that I'm talking about, yada yada, and behind me, is work that we do with kids. And part of my thing is you have an open thing, as Michelle also mentioned. How can we share and expose some of our young artwork? And this is actually a series of, we have 10 of these posters right now that we've done. And what they are is really looking at social justice. This is mostly middle school and young high schoolers who go through a series of, sessions, and we talk about equity and racial inclusion and violence in the community and how it's affected the members. So we've done a series of these, including Emmett Till, and we have them up at the school. But this would be kind of great. And I'm not just advocating for myself, but all youth, as Michelle. I also chair the Youth and Education Committee for CB11. So we would love to try to enter these things in. So it's not one artist, it's an artist that works with many kids at Children's Aid, and I can see us, be, not that I'm selfish, but I'm kind of a little greedy. I would love to see all 10 of them, and we're working on doing some more this summer as part of our program as well. So we definitely want to look at how we can,
A little hard to hear you, David, but I think we got
yeah, I'm
the
sorry. I
gist.
got to get a better microphone on this.
All right. Thank you, David.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have pieces of art that you might want to submit in our next open call, those pieces behind you are beautiful. I would take as high quality images as you can. So just in case they get damaged or taken down.
Oh no, these are Yeah, these are original, but we have posters made that we hang up outside. So, you know, DYCD took actually 10 of them from us and are putting them up in their offices. And in them are 6
Oh, that's
word
awesome.
memoirs from each kid. So when you really see it, we really do. When you see it up close, you'll really see kids say 6 words. How they're affected by this.
Yep, it's getting hard to hear you, David.
It's actually panels within each of those that are put together. A kid works on each panel, almost like on Zoom squares, and it's put together. And each of those panels have a 6-word memoir about injustice, racial equality, or whatever we were discussing as it relates to the topic. So it's not just art; it's also, you know, expression in kids' words. You know, yada
Thank
yada.
you so much, David.
I need to talk to you afterwards.
Yeah, definitely.
Why don't you email us at ccci@harlemgrown.org, and we'll see, even like before our next open call for art, since we'll be seeing the proposals that are coming through and the events that are going to happen. I would love to like coordinate some potential collaborations.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, David. Connie, and then we'll move along.
Hi, Charles.
Hi.
I had a thought while you were discussing the art panels. Since there's 12 of them, maybe for next year, you might consider having, you know, instead of just a call for artists, how about a call for a curator so they can put together an exhibition of 12 cohesive artworks, maybe even a juried call, so that this way the artists are submitting their work and putting it in front of the eyes of somebody who could be very influential to their career. I think in Harlem, we do have artists of that level that, you know, maybe particularly if the honorarium was a little higher next year, might consider participating. I would also think that some information about what the artist needs to submit, other than just a high-res image of their artwork. Are they required to give you a digital file that can then be printed on? So I've printed on aluminum many, many times, and you know, we bring in a professional designer to create those before those panels are printed, you know, just for high quality reproductions. So you don't have to do it now, but I would like a little more information about what they have to submit. But also I'd really like to see you step it up a notch, and for some of them anyway, maybe next year have a curated or juried exhibition.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So we did allow for people to submit a number of items as a group that would be displayed together if chosen. And I do think like the curated full set could be a good like next step for that for next year. I like that idea. And then in terms of the what people need to submit, which I think is probably relevant to a lot of people here who might want to get involved, is all we really require is an image of the piece that is high enough resolution to be scored initially, to go through committee, along with your bio, an explanation of the piece and as it relates to the initiative. And there's optional demographic information that's just used for reporting purposes back to the Mellon Foundation. And then when it comes to reproduction, the company that Harlem Grown is paying for the reproduction with those grant funds. And we plan on having times that artists can go into the studio that the reproduction company has, because they have the ability to take, you know, the exact pictures that they want to, or that they need to reproduce on aluminum there. But since that might not be possible, we will also give artists the option of giving us an image with very specific lighting requirements and resolution requirements, or else there will be a final option where if neither of those is possible, we can have a staff member find the artist and the piece and take a high quality photo. But because that last option would be unlikely to be in as controlled of an environment, our first choice is going to be if people can bring their piece to that reproduction studio to be able to get, or to give them exactly the image they need.
So what is the panel size?
So there is not technically a cap on the panel size, but our goal panel size is 10 to 15 people.
No. The size of there's 12 panels.
That is,
so if
got
I
it.
gave you an 8x11 work on paper, it's not going to translate. It's going to translate really poorly into a 4-foot by 8-foot panel. So that's
You are correct. So this just affects the number of pieces we could display at one time, but we are accepting submissions that can be displayed on 4-foot by 4-foot, so square, or 4-foot tall by 8 feet wide.
Great.
And for the second art installation, panel sizes might be slightly different. And so for the second large installation, we hope to have it permitted through parks by late fall, early winter, so that we can have a very long time to curate art for those exhibitions.
Great. Thank you, Connie, for those great questions.
And I have one last question for Charles.
Go ahead.
Charles, did you hire somebody to manage the program?
Yeah, so when I mentioned Dorel Anderson, who wasn't able to join this call, she recently worked at the National Jazz Museum in Harlem as their director of operations. And she's joined us as a director of partnerships, who the majority of her role will be managing the Culture, Creativity, and Care initiative.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Connie. Seeing no other questions. Oh, David, do you have another question? No? Okay, great. All right, thank you, Charles. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you for all the great work you're doing, and we look forward to being involved. Keep us updated as you move forward. All right, we will move along to our old business. The first item of which is the co-naming of Thomas Jefferson Park basketball courts. I know we still have Will Kelly Jr. on the line. I'm not sure if Elsie or anyone from Deputy Speaker Diana Ayala's office is on the call today.
I think it might just be Will Kelly with us tonight, Jessica.
Okay.
Elsie said that she would not be able to attend tonight.
Okay, great. And Khalid, if you could just give us a little background information on what we've received so far from Diana Ayala's office and what we're missing.
As a reminder to the committee that we don't have a finalized procedure or protocol regarding this co-naming. We're just emulating the guidelines set for the Public Safety and Transportation Committee. And I'll have to, I'm sharing the screen now. It'll be difficult for me to pull it up right now, but we've sent those guidelines to the council member's office, where they were supposed to acquire a set number of petition signatures, and we're also supposed to be receiving some letters of support as well. So far, we've received the petition signatures from the office of the council speaker, but I have not been able to review that properly as I've received that today. And Will Kelly is supposed to be present with us to explain what else that he's gathered in support of his petition.
Great. Will Kelly, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your patience to get to this item.
No, it's okay. Thank you guys for having me. This means a lot to the community and myself, and his family, his loved ones he left behind. I just could share with y'all, like, our mission statement is for the youth to utilize our platform as a resource to becoming a student athlete while learning life lessons through basketball. It's something we started in 2009. Well, we revamped it in 2009. My father been using the park since 1983. Community based, just keeping kids off the streets and working with the kids in the neighborhood. In 2009, I came up with the idea of revamping it and just, expanding it. And we started off with just like a couple of kids from the neighborhood, including my daughter. And today has grown. We service over 1,000 kids yearly, and we just do the summer program and use the parks. We usually partner up with like programs like Union Settlement, Boys Club, or SCAN to keep the program going through the winter and fall seasons. Renaming the park, I want to talk about what it means. My father was a very caring person, cared for his community, helped a lot of people out. And Thomas Jefferson Park on the 111th Street side, well, the whole park is a safe haven, especially the program we built in that park is community based. And we want to keep it that way and, give some recognition to someone that made it a, safe haven and a place for the community to come together, learn the sport, and also get life lessons out of it. And I think just by renaming the court, it was never named before, it gives the community some information of people that don't know about the work that was put in, and just the legacy, a positive legacy for the community. I also want to talk about just a couple, just name a few kids that graduated college that went to the program. Marquise Noel, Kansas State, Cheyenne Kelly, John Jay College, Jeremy Hazel, Seton Hall, Jesse Sapp, Georgetown. That's the few that I had worked closely and directly with. And just hoping that the kids are able to see that and continue to grow and finish off school and productive in society.
Great. Thank you, Will
That's
Kelly.
it for me.
Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. Yeah, and I think we're just trying to hold to the process here. I know Khalid mentioned we don't necessarily have a process, so I'm going to ask to the committee. I know we've had a month to sit on this and to be able to take a motion for a letter of support today. Being that we have received the petition signatures and have not yet received the letters of support, are you willing as a committee for this committee's process to accept Will Kelly Jr.'s statement voiced publicly on this meeting as the letter of support to move us forward? Jewel?
Yes. So just to be clear, it will be named what again? What's the name?
Will Kelly Sr., right?
The basketball courts on the 111th Street side. We're trying to get into Will Kelly Senior courts, just the courts of the park. And with yeah, go ahead.
No, thank you. I just thank you. So I make a motion to support or move forward or
well, let me.
whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I'll come back to you to make a motion. I just want to address the other hands in the air. Michelle and then Connie.
I would like to make a friendly amendment when a motion is that to have the letters of the people that have finished the program and have gone to the different colleges and have benefited so much, to add their experience so that it makes it a richer document of your father's life. And it would be in our archives as well as stated, hopefully, when the dedication does occur.
Thank you, Michelle. I think that's a very specific ask that would be difficult to follow up with so specifically, but let's hear what the other hands have to say, and we'll see if we might make an amendment for requirement that a letter of support be submitted physically. But let me go to the rest of the hands. Connie.
I noticed that the baseball field in Marcus Garvey Park is named Shea Field. something I never thought about, walk past it all the time. But apparently fields and courts all over the city are named for somebody. And very often it appears that it was simply just done by the Parks Department without community input or anything like that. And, you know, personally, I would really like to see this court named for somebody like Will Kelly Sr., who actually used it and did really good things for the community in that park. You know, if it were up to me, it wouldn't be called Thomas Jefferson Park because, you know, he's just an old white dude. So that's no longer here. But yeah, I think I just wanted to say that this seems to happen all the time and there's no reason why it shouldn't happen here. It's just never come before this committee, and maybe we don't have an official procedure, but maybe Parks doesn't have an official procedure. And maybe it's time we, you know, just step up and put the names of people from our community on public spaces, not just street corner signs that nobody ever reads. So I think this is a lovely opportunity.
Great. And then we'll go to Malik, and then I will entertain a motion. Malik?
Yeah, it was just in reference to Michelle's I guess I don't want to say friendly amendment to, but I just didn't I disagree with the process that you just stated as far as getting other people that was a part of the program, getting them to write a letter to let them know, only because sometimes now you have to rely on other people to write those different things that was in that particular program. And not that he doesn't have the communication with those different people, but now you have to rely on them to get it done by a certain time or et cetera. And then that would, like that process wouldn't be for everyone throughout, you know, for the next person that wants to get the park renamed and, you know, over for someone else. So I mean, I just disagree with that process pretty much, but I would like to get this done. And, you know, obviously, he was a pillar in the community, but I also want to, I want to see it done, and we want to get it done in a way where a lot of people are involved. I just don't agree with that particular steps.
Thank you, Malik. And Michelle, would you be, just because we're, you know, we have very low quorum tonight and we'll need every vote. I just want to make sure that you're comfortable accepting Will Kelly Jr.'s verbal testimony as his letter of support.
I secede.
Is that a yes? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I'll take it back to Jewel, if you'd like to make your motion.
So just to be clear, this came up before in terms of the park is called Thomas Jefferson. We're talking about the basketball court. So the whole code naming, and I think we were supposed to get clarification about that, or there was further investigation, because it's just the naming of the basketball court. We know it's Thomas Jefferson Park. What's the code name? Why are we saying? Okay.
Yes. So the co-naming, there is no other name. The other name is Thomas Jefferson Park. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Will Kelly, but there is no current name of the basketball courts, and this would be it's considered a co-naming because the park is named.
Yes, the park name is Thomas Jefferson Park. You see it done in other parks. You have a park, and then when you go into the park, like the courts might be named after someone, or sometimes the benches is in dedication to someone that, you know, that was taking care of the park and stuff like that. But the park is still be named Thomas Jefferson Park.
Does that answer your question, Joel?
So yeah, maybe I'm not. So I'm all I'm saying is that, and I see Michelle wrote dedication. It's just, to me, it's just not to belabor this, but we're just saying that the park, I mean, the court will be
Yes,
named
just the
after
court.
Wilkinson. So I'm
Just-
just, you know, just an
Correct.
anal about, anal
Yes,
about the
correct.
co-naming part. We're not co-naming anything. It's just, you know, but you know, I'll, you know, that's just me, maybe it's just me, but and I know, so it's all in deference to what Mr. Kelly Jr. said. It's just that I'm just saying that why we saying co-naming, you know, the park is named the park, but we're just saying we want to name the basketball court. And I'm just kind of like an anal about the co-naming, but that's just me. And I can go ahead and say I'd like to make to request the letter of support for this to move forward.
Okay, so sorry, I'm just going to repeat your motion because you cut out there for a second. You're motioning to support the co-naming of Thomas Jefferson Park basketball courts for Will Kelly Sr.
Yes, yes.
Great. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Connie. Oh,
You're
sorry,
welcome.
Michelle. I'm sorry. All right, we're raising our hands from now on. We have a motion, we have a second. We'll take the roll.
Okay, members. Excuse me. Jessica Elliott,
Yes.
David Giordano,
Yes.
Excuse me, Jewel Jones.
Yes.
Connie Lee,
Yes.
Malik McCullough.
Yes.
Debbie Quinones is still absent. Asher Rodriguez.
Yes.
Marshall Schiller is excused. Michelle Wiltshire Clement.
Yes.
And Jordan Wright is still absent. The motion carries, Chair.
Great. Thank you so much. Will Kelly, do you have any final words for us before you leave?
I just want to tell everybody, thank you. I don't got, you know, I'm a little sentimental right now because it means a lot. And I just want to say thank you, you know, and you guys continue supporting East Harlem and the community. It's very much needed. I can't thank you guys enough.
Great, thank you. And we'll take this to full board at the end of the month where we'll get a full community board vote on it to get it you know, ratified by the community board. And then we'll keep in touch with you on next steps with Deputy Speaker Diana's office. All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you, everyone,
Have a good
for help. Have a good night, for helping us get through that. And, you know, I think there's an opportunity here to say, you know, maybe moving forward, if we have more of these things coming to the table, do we, you know, have a process that we need to put in place? Do we eliminate the co-naming as a word that describes what this is? So we can work through that over the summer and come to the table in September with some you know, formal procedures so that we can do this more often and more strategically. So thank you everyone for your patience in what is a non-defined process for this committee. And we'll move on to our next item of old business, which is our parks tours logistics. I'll pass it over to you, Malik. You there, Malik? All right, well, I'll kick it off and he can jump in when we're ready. So we're actually kicking off the parks tours this weekend. I had already forgotten and booked an appointment and then canceled and moved it to another day. So we're doing it. Malik and I talked earlier today, and we have been circulating a document between Khalid, Malik, and myself that emulates the original documents that we had 2 years ago when we did this the first time. So you know, I think we all discussed how it would be important to have some context on the parks as we go through them, and then some ability to take notes on what we're seeing, thoughts towards, you know, expense and capital projects for the statement of district needs process. I'm trying to find the email with the schedule. Let's see. One second.
I'm here, Jessica. I just
Oh,
couldn't unmute at the time.
Great.
But just to continue and follow up based off of what you were saying, the order that I put the parks in, I feel like walking wise is the best way that we should go. So because we only doing 4 or 5 parks, I put them in a particular order so that the walk won't be as long or short. And unfortunately, some of the first few, they're not like in very close proximity, but the distance between them are a lot smaller than any other distance that we would have had combined with doing 4 or 5 parks. So this will be our first one of the year, and hopefully, well, it should, it'll go well. There's no rain, the weather is looking good, and hopefully I'll see everybody there this weekend. It starts at 10 a.m. Hopefully we could get through it, not fast, Connie, but swiftly. Um, and I'm just looking forward to this Saturday.
Great. Thank you so much, Malik. And I just put in the chat this Saturday at 10 a.m. As Malik said, we will be visiting Marx Brothers Playground, Harlem RBI, Cherry Tree Park, Sunshine Playground, and Blake Hobbs Playground. Is anyone not able to attend this weekend?
I'm supposed to be in 3 places at the same time, so I don't know how I'm going to do any of them. I'm supposed to be with Debbie to drop off a speaker for her event on Pride Week in the park up on 117th. Children's Aid's got the cleanup on 101st Street. I'm supposed to be helping that with the open streets. And now we got this. I'll make it to somewhere. At least it's all in the same proximity up the hill. I'll try, Jess.
Yeah,
I'll catch
text
up
us.
to you somewhere along the line.
Exactly. Text us when you're ready and we'll see where we are and we'll let you know. Asher?
Yeah, I'm 5 places at the same time this weekend also.
Okay, no worries. All right, well, I think it's just really important. I guess, is David Williams still on the phone? David, are you there? One more try. David Williams from Parks, are you there on the phone? All right. Well, I know that Khalid had sent out an invitation to Parks with the full schedule to see if there might be able to be some partnerships with Parks on this. We'd love to have Parks in attendance to help, explain, what we're seeing and help us understand what's possible when it comes to statement of district needs and budget process. So if David, if you're there, and anyone from Parks, we would greatly appreciate your presence in as many of the weekends as possible. So please let us know. And then similarly for the community board members, as many as you can attend, please try to be there. This event is open to the public every weekend. So we'll make sure that gets included in the newsletter. Sorry, Colleen, we'll help you out with that one. And then, circulating that. David, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of your question.
Yeah, so just asking, Khalid had sent you and the rest of the Parks team the schedule for our CB11 Parks tours for this summer. We wanted to confirm with your team whom and when you might be able to attend our events. They're happening every other weekend through the summer, and we'd love Parks attendance at as many as possible.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm off weekends, but I'll definitely try to fit some of them in. Of course, according to my schedule prior to the weekend advance. But I'll look at the schedule and I'll let you know.
Okay, and if you can't attend, or if there's only specific weekends where Jana or Steve or whoever else might be able to grace us with your presence, we'd love to coordinate that strategically. So please respond to Khalid's message and email, and we'll coordinate that with you all.
That's not a problem. Anytime.
Great. All right. So we'll meet at Marx Brothers Playground at 10 a.m. on Saturday, and we'll see you there. Anything else on the Parks tours logistics?
Not on my end.
Okay, thank you, Malik. And just one reminder, bring water, bring a snack, probably wear sunscreen, probably wear a hat, all that good stuff. So let's take care of ourselves as we go out there. Asher?
The list was sent out, right? Just to make sure, because I might have missed like an email or something.
Did I send it out? If I didn't, I'm all over the place. I will literally send it out right this second, so that everyone has the full calendar. And just as a note, we had shifted one of the dates towards the very end, which was the Pier 107 and East River Esplanade visits, so that we could coordinate a joint effort with Civitas. So more information to come on that soon, but giving ourselves the most time to make that collaboration possible. And thank you to Civitas for the great idea. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to new business, and I'll take it back to Joel Jones.
So, everyone, what I was saying earlier was that at the last meeting, there were several questions that were posed to me specifically. So what I did was I actually responded via email to Jessica, like right after the meeting, and then I subsequently sent her an email as a reminder. And I don't know, basically it was I mean, I can even like just send the response to you all. I can just read what I want added to the minutes. I want added to the minutes every spot where I said I will get back to, or something to that effect. But basically there was a question about the We Act workshop, which took place on the 18th, and that's a past event, so no need to discuss that. But there was a question about the We Act NYCHA solar panel project, and I actually sent, oh, yeah, okay, there. So it's there. Yeah, and that was a very good question, because and Charles Calloway at We Act is actually the person we want to speak to about that, but it's a fairly new project. It was impacted by the pandemic, and there's an attachment. I would just say go to that attachment that I sent. And then the third, which is very important, We Act is one of the EPA's, the federal government's EJ, and for lack of the acronym is TICTAC, but it's an Environmental Justice Thriving Communities Technical Assistance Center, AKA TICTACs. And this is very important. And I would suggest, please read the attachment that I sent, because it means that We Act is the kind of central location that can actually assist entities who are, and it will act as a technical assistance center. And there's like $10 million, like a lot of money involved in terms of this, and We Act is that centralized entity that will help to, funnel out this money. So projects or entities that are interested in this, they can go through We Act. And Taisha was on the call, and she's left because she could have explained this a lot better. But the attachment that I sent is, I think, is very informative. And I said, Jessica, as a reminder, I mean, as you recall, you actually was at this kind of the spearheading of this event, and We Act had basically a Justice 40 community tour where they had federal entities there, state and city, where they actually started talking about this TICTAC. That took place in January. But so that was an excellent question, and I would suggest you contact We Act for more information. And that was it. Thank you.
Great, Joel. And I am so sorry. I feel like I marked this as unread and I just never went back to it. And I had already submitted the meeting minutes. I usually do it right after the meeting is over. So apologies for not getting that included, and I'll make sure that it is included now in this month's meeting minutes. And I do want to say, we give space for, Civitas, for Friends of the East River Esplanade, for, transportation alternatives during our informational updates section. And I think, We Act has been here for many months in succession and has been a part of this committee for, all of the things that we've been working on. So I would, encourage, you or Taisha to raise your hand when we go to those informational updates for other community-based organizations. And we'd love to get general updates from y'all every month.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Are there any other new business items? All right. Then seeing no hands, seeing no items, we will move to take roll call and adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and have a good night. Here.
Giordano,
Present.
Jewel Jones,
Here.
Connie Lee,
Here,
Malik McCullough. Well, I'm gonna assume he has mute issues. Debbie Quinones, so absent. Asher Rodriguez,
Present.
Russell Schuler's excused. Michelle Wiltshire Clement.
Present.
Thank you. And Jordan Wright is absent. That's it, Chair. Roll
All
call is-
right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. This meeting is adjourned at 8:36. See you Saturday.
Good night.
Good night.